I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is obviously one of them. We also have a Facebook group of like-minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation, and we'd love to have you join us there. You can find us at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm also super pumped to have released my debut book, SOAR, SOAR. It's on Amazon, and it's a spiritual experiential journey through my divorce process and shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. So I'm super pumped that on my show with me, I have Gabe Arnold. Hey, Gabe.
Oh,
Thank you for joining me.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. The long-awaited podcast is here. I've been pumped about this since we put this on the calendar a couple months ago. You're like a celebrity now. It's like, gosh, well, Gabe is booking, 6 months out. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So my viewers and listeners know this is actually the second time Gabe has been on my podcast. So the format's going to be a little different. Thought we would change it up a little bit. So, he had so much fun the first time around. He was begging to come back on. So I said, okay, we can make that happen. Well, that may not be really how it happened, but it sounds good, right? So a little bit of background on Gabe. Gabe is the founder and CEO of Business Marketing Engine. Gabe is known as a serial problem solver. With 22 years of experience in professional writing, computer technology, and marketing management, it's a title that fits him well. He has helped over 1,000 young startups grow into established business enterprises. He has dedicated his life to finding ways to help teams of all sizes create effective, results-based organizational models. He created his first $1 million product, Copywriter Today, in 2014 and has continued to scale and grow from there. Amen to that. And I can attest to all of that. Gabe is my business manager, and I call him my one-stop shop for all of my business needs. So he and his amazing team are the ones who bring all of my crazy ideas into reality. So they are the ones who work the magic behind the scenes, and absolutely love working with them. So super excited about the show today. As I mentioned, a little different format than what we've done before. We're not going to start off the show with the same question that we did, that I do every show. How do you live authentically every day? If you guys want to hear Gabe's answer to that question, just go ahead and rewind to, I think, episode 8. You were one of my early ones, right? Back when I was in, I call it my cringe-worthy stage of podcasting. Could we just take those down, please? But it'll just show growth, right? So anyways, we're going to do a little different format. So this podcast is going to have a business focus. And so what I've done is I have prepared 10 true or false questions that I'm going to give you, and you're going to give me your answer, please. And then I would love to have you color it in with some commentary. So little background on me, I always wanted to be a teacher growing up. So this is my opportunity to read true or false questions that I wrote specifically for you.
Good.
All right, question number 1. Entrepreneurship is easy and glamorous.
False.
And why is it false?
If you're a poser, it's glamorous and easy because all you have to do is find a nice looking car in your neighborhood or, go somewhere or rent a hotel or rent a really nice Airbnb and take a bunch of pictures and pretend that you're actually that successful. And that's super easy to pose. But in reality, being an entrepreneur means you have to learn, only 100 skills. And on top of that, you have to continually grow and change. So it's not easy. It's relatively simple, but it's not easy, which are two very, very different things. And, as I've grown, over the past 20 plus years of being an entrepreneur, I've had to grow and reinvent myself and add new skills and leave things behind that didn't serve me anymore. And so it's a constant evolution. It's a constant, up leveling and changing, in order to be able to serve at a higher level and to really be able to get to know yourself better is the first thing in entrepreneurship, because it will bring out everything you didn't want to work on. And
True.
then you'll also learn about the, relationships that are going to serve you well for a long time and the relationships that just aren't meant to last, as long, because there's plenty of people that will encourage you and cheer you on regardless of where you're at and what you're doing. And there's plenty of people that will start to get jealous and uncomfortable or just not be able to handle your growth. And they will leave your life quietly, ideally, but often they will leave your life in a ball of fury. So.
Well said. Thank you. All right. Ready for question number 2?
Yep.
You're crushing it so far, by the way, as I knew you would. Emotions have no place in business.
False. That's definitely our emotions are definitely a part of the journey. The thing that I've had to learn and realize over the years is you have to honor your emotions. They're a real authentic part of who you are in your journey, but you don't want to make decisions just off of emotions, because if you do that, you'll be reactionary. You'll say things that will get you into trouble or that you'll regret. And so it's when we're feeling a certain way, or when I'm feeling like really riled up, or I want to, say something back to an email I see something happening in my business that I'm not pleased with. If I just react on the emotions and act immediately, then I'm reacting, and that ends up causing messes most of the time. But if I instead, take time and say, okay, why do I feel this way? Is it something that is coming up in me that I need to work on because they're just bringing that to light for me? Or do I have does it make sense to feel this way? And, I should be upset about it. And if so, how do I want to act, and respond to what's going on instead of just being reactionary? And so doing things like writing the email reply and then leaving it until tomorrow and reading it again to make sure that you're really pleased with what you're going to be sending out. Observing for a longer period of time before you engage or react to something is helpful. And it's really important to honor those emotions and not immediately act on them until you're sure the direction that you want to take.
Excellent. Thank you. Question number 3. In business, your number one objective should be to avoid adversity.
Are these all false questions?
I'll see.
Yeah, that's definitely false, because adversity is a gift from the universe, and it's the thing that helps us grow and helps us move forward. If you think about even just in your physical body, if you're always completely sedentary, you will get bed sores. You will not have lung capacity. You'll lose out on living life in the fullest way. And when we exercise, when we work out, when we do things like that, we're actually creating a little bit of adversity for our muscles. We're creating a little bit of adversity for our lungs and for our heart. And that's what allows us to grow and maintain and just continue to excel. And so in entrepreneurship, you're going to encounter adversity at the different levels of growth. You're going to encounter adversity that you didn't expect. And those are opportunities to reflect and say, okay, why is this happening? What can I learn from it? What value can I get from it? And then move through it, with grace and with, just with, conscious thought. Also, you don't want to just seek out adversity, because when you're in startup mode, or when you're really getting, leaning into something, there's going to be adversity or challenges. However, we can sometimes get comfortable in adversity too and seek that out when we are about to achieve a new level of growth or success. Sometimes we want to stay at the level of adversity that we're comfortable with, or sometimes we want to implode what's working well to get back to a comfortable state of adversity. And I see that frequently with entrepreneurs that I coach and work with, of, they get to a point where they're about to have a big breakthrough, or they do have a big breakthrough. And instead of learning to be comfortable there, which is like the new level of discomfort adversity that they need to master, they'll do something to bring themselves back down, or bring their business back down to a level where they're internally comfortable. And so you don't want to seek out adversity, but you definitely do want to learn from it.
Great. Thank you. 3 for 3 so far, just so you know. Question number 4, the most successful people are overnight successes.
Definitely not. Definitely false. There's plenty of people that do have very rapid success, but they don't have the ability to learn why they were successful when they grow that way. I grew a multi-million-dollar construction company in my early 20s, and it was very, very fast. I think I went from doing like $50,000-$60,000 a year to within 5 years we were doing like a couple $1,000,000 a year.
Wow.
So it was really, really rapid, and that's not even overnight, but that's relatively fast. However, I wasn't aware of what actually got me there. I didn't have financial, management and control. I really wasn't a leader that could execute at that level. And so when the housing market crash came, I got stuck for $250,000. I ended up going out of business and going bankrupt. for $1 million. And it just showed me that I wasn't really aware of how that success came. I wasn't able to manage and handle it. There were outside factors, obviously, but there's plenty of people that made it through that rough spot in the housing market and home services industry, because they did really have established businesses and they had the structure in place. And so, it only takes 20 years to become an overnight success is what I say sometimes. And so success is about incrementally doing the right things every day and building upon that. It's not about, trying to race to the top, because you'll see plenty of people claim to have done that in a very short time, and they truly don't have the habits and discipline to sustain it. I've seen that happen over and over. It happened to me, and it's very common. So it's better to grow incrementally and steadily over time, because your exponential growth will come later if you do it that way, than to try to be pushing for massive numbers when you don't even know, you don't even have the skill set to manage that size business yet.
Thank you. Question number 5. In order to best serve your clients, it is important to give them as much information as you can as quickly as possible.
Sometimes that's not a true or a false. So sometimes it's important to really lay out what's going on and give a lot of information, but there's other times where that's actually not serving your clients, because it can overwhelm them, or they can not understand the context of it. So what's more effective is to share an overview of the information, what's going to happen, and then break that down and give them to give that information and, additional steps over time. Typically, that's going to be more effective because, imagine if you went to a 4-hour presentation from somebody and there was no breaks and you had to sit through it for 4 hours. You would be uncomfortable relatively, soon in there, especially if you're drinking your water like you should be. And then you'd be jamming all this information into, a half-day session. And then if you were expected to go out and apply that right away, then you probably wouldn't have the memory recall or the action steps or the ways to implement that. So it's actually better to lead and guide your clients, your team, and, the folks that you're trying to serve by really being intentional and thinking about, okay, what do they need to know now? What do they need to know at the next level? And how can I give them the information that they need as they go? Not from like a controlling or like information hoarding standpoint, but from a standpoint of, if I give people just exactly what they need that will help them move forward, then I'm not going to overwhelm them with too much. But if they ask for more, they want to understand something, then you can dive deeper and explain it more.
Perfect. Thank you. Question number 6. The path to success is linear.
Nope. So that's false for sure. Most of the time in entrepreneurship, we have to try a lot of things to see what works. And if we're paying attention for all the things that don't work, those will also give us, stepping stones and knowledge and learning that will go, oh, I really like this part of this project, but I didn't like this part, or this piece really worked, but the next part didn't work. And so it feels like you're working up on something and then it crashes, it doesn't work, or you're reaching out in different directions or trying different things. And some of them are going to work and some of them aren't. What's not effective is if you go, oh, that was a total failure, and you write it all off, then you've lost all the value from that learning and investment you made. And the same applies if you go, oh, that worked great, I must have it figured out. It's not black and white as much as I would like it to be, as much as I want it to be, especially when I was younger. It's more integrated, because it's in this failure, we didn't achieve the ultimate outcome we wanted, but what did work and what did I learn? What would I do more of? What would I not do again? And the same applies in success of, in the success, what really causes success, what parts were effective and good. And then also like what can be improved on or do better, because you're going to fail during, a successful run too. There's going to be pieces that just don't line up. And also there's times where you may push really hard in a certain direction and do everything you can to make it happen, and it either works or doesn't work, but you need to take a step back and take a break, or just slow down and evaluate where you're at. Entrepreneurship is not a 24/7, hustle and push. It's seasons of focusing in on the right things that are going to move you forward. And then also there's times and seasons where it's good to rest and relax and go, okay, what's worked, what's not working, how can I take care of myself and get ready for the next race? Because it's it's not go 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 all the time. It's really being intentional about when you make the big pushes and when you also take time to, for even more self-care and, self-development.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. If you can complete a task more effectively and more efficiently than others, it's not worth it to delegate.
Nope. As much as there's only a handful of things as the entrepreneur that you should be doing in the long run. In the startup phases, there's a lot of things you need to do. There's a lot of things you need to test and understand and create systems for or carry for a season. But if somebody else can do something 80% better as well as you can, then that's kind of the rule of thumb that I've heard and that I've seen to be effective. Then you should be handing it off to them. And a great example for me this year has been, because at every level of growth as an entrepreneur, you have to relearn how to delegate. At least I do. And so this year, I've for decades at this point written a lot of the sales proposals and project scopes and strategies for our team and for our clients. But this year I was just getting way behind on it, and I finally gave up and asked one of my team members to write the proposals. And the amazing thing is that Mo on our team is 10 times better than me at writing proposals. But I, was holding on to it and thought, this is something only I can do, when in reality, when I gave it to him, he's just crushes it. He's so much better at it than me. And that's why you have to be willing to risk delegating things, even if initially you think, oh, maybe they can only do it, 3/4 as well as I can, or things like that. Because if you keep stacking on or not releasing things that you should be delegating, then all you've created for yourself is a job. And most entrepreneurs I know, didn't sign up, for this to become, just have another job. They actually want time, freedom of time and freedom of money.
Thank you. Next question. You ready?
Yep.
Leaders should keep their clients shielded from their mistakes in order to preserve their expert status.
Well, fortunately, that's not true, because you've seen plenty of mistakes that I've made over the years here. But if if anything, honestly, is going to impact what's happening with your client, then it's important to be open and transparent about that for multiple reasons. One is if you're open about that and say, hey, here's the struggle we're having, here's what we're trying to solve, here's where the ball got dropped, or here's where things didn't work. Then instead of you just trying to solve it yourself or with your team, then you open up to the creativity of, having your client go, oh, well, what if we try this? Or actually, I don't need that anymore. We can shift resources or shift direction. And it creates an honest and trusting relationship instead of some false pretense like everything's perfect or we'll always have it together, which is just not how life or business goes. The other thing that a client of mine told me one time, which was really, really encouraging to me, as I reached out and said, hey, can't keep this meeting. Here's what came up. Got to make an adjustment. And they wrote me back and said, man, Gabe, I'm so glad that you shared with me why you couldn't keep the meeting and the adjustment that you need to make, because it showed me that I can be transparent and open with my clients and really treat them as friends. And so when we really walk through this entrepreneurial journey that way with integrity, which means owning your failures and your successes, then we're actually able to serve people at a higher level too, and just say, hey, here's what's working, here's what's not working. And this probably isn't like 100% of the time, but I can't recall a time where I came to, Pam, you as a client or any of our other clients and said, you know what, we totally dropped the ball on this. It's late. Here's what we plan to do to make it right. Or the client was like pissed off and, reacted poorly. They were like, oh, thanks for telling me. That's fine. Like, what can we do to make it right? And you actually form a much more honest and, stronger relationship when you approach it that way, instead of trying to cover up your mistakes.
Yep, I agree. Thank you. Next question. Living with ridiculously high levels of pressure and noise is just the way it is as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely false. There's actually a significant amount of research around the effectiveness of your work dropping after 32 to 35 hours for the week. And so when you push beyond that, there's like when you push beyond 40 or 50 hours is probably the cap in my world.
Mhm.
Then all you're doing is moving backwards, because if you're working that much, you're not delegating. So you're then, choking off any resources or development in your team or anybody that's there to support you. So you're holding back information from them and not helping them grow. So you'll never scale. You're starting to impact your mental capacity, your physical capacity, emotional, spiritual, everything across the board. And so you won't be able to show up fully present for your team and for your clients. And in a very short time, you will start to have the physical effects of all that, of either weight gain or weight loss, or long-term stress. I was just on a call with a friend of mine earlier this morning, and he was a chiropractor and had built this massive practice and was really, really successful from the outside, right? Everybody looking in. And he was adjusting one of his clients one day, and he broke his finger while he was adjusting it. And that his bone actually came out through the skin of his finger. And it was because he had been not sleeping and drinking too much and, just beating the hell out of his body.
Mhm.
And, and obviously then the result was like literally everything was breaking down. And that happens when that level of like fatigue and abuse that we put on our own bodies and our own minds happens when we think that more is going to solve the problem.
Mhm.
And in reality, all we're doing is constricting all resources when we push too hard. So, if you think about like driving your car, endlessly will not work. You'll run out of gas. You'll burn up the motor. You'll wear out the tires. Like if you don't stop and actually, put new resources in place and give things time to cool off and time to have a break, then all you're going to do is burn out. And so it's really key to realize that the more time in meditation and silence and journaling and planning, and the more that give yourself time and space, you're going to be able to create a lot faster momentum and more effective, sustainable momentum. Because again, I don't think anybody became an entrepreneur to work themselves to death, not see their kids, not see their families, not do anything they enjoy. And like I said, there's always, in all things, there's a point of diminishing return. And I've done this in different seasons over my entrepreneurial career. The last time I did it was like 5 years ago. I said, you know what, I'm not going to work Fridays anymore. I'm going to take that time, for myself, to be with my son, be with Rachel. And that year we doubled revenue, um, because I actually was focused and present during my 4-day work week. And I actually just reinstituted that this week of I'm only working Monday through Thursday, because that's what's actually going to help the company grow at the rate that it needs to right now, is me, having that time of silence, that time away. And also I think it's important, as people are growing teams, to realize that you can overdo it with your team. You can push them too hard. You can send them too much information, and you can just become a noisy, part of their life. And so it's always a great reminder to me that like when I travel, my team runs everything and everything's great, and they actually get a break from me. And so I've been trying to intentionally design in more time and space for myself, and also for the team, so they can just be effective and really thoughtful planning and execution. So yeah, working more is not going to solve anything. You're just going to keep doing more of the things that aren't working, generally speaking.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our quiz. You crushed it as expected. So
Awesome.
thank you for helping us debunk some of these common myths with entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah.
I just wanted to close with just kind of opening it up to you to talk about, anything you'd like to talk about. I know servant leadership is a big part of who you are. If you wanted to talk about that, or really any aspect of your business or anything that you think would serve our audience well.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for creating this space and time for this. I really always enjoy talking to you, and it's always great to share this with the audience too.
Thank
I
you.
think the biggest thing for me that I'm just really learned more and more over the last few years, and you were actually a huge part of this for me as well, is you wrote your book 2 years ago. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that was, yeah.
Yeah.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had started down this path at some level, but then I read your book. And there's a line in your book that I'll never forget that says, "What would love do?" And that for me crystallized and helped like just open up a new level of thinking that helped me say, okay, like if I'm going to really treat my team and my clients and all those that I get to interact with in, in my entrepreneurial world, like, my dearest loved ones, like people I super care about, and it's going to make things better. It's going to make things easier. It took my business from being transactional to like, hey, you pay for this, we give you that, and that's it. And like just being very transactional and shallow to where all of us on the team really understand now, because I was able to fortunately grow and change myself, understand that we show up and we lead with heart. And so we say, how can we take amazing care of this person today? How can we really serve this team member that's struggling, or how can we really show up and serve this client? And that approach and that attitude, it's really a heart attitude first, makes business so much easier and massively more profitable, because you get to really build trust with people that they truly understand you care about them because you do care about them. And so I think that's been the biggest lesson for me, is that over these past few years, is that if I really just show up with all my heart and serve and truly care about people, and also express that and just be honest about, hey, here's what I see in you, or here's the potential I see, or the things that I think that, you should consider doing, that makes what small bumps that come, or what would be in other situations, big mistakes or big issues or challenges, it makes them very solvable, because you have that foundation of trust and love. And so I would just encourage people, no matter where you're at, if you're starting out or if you've been in business for decades, to ask yourself, am I really showing up authentically with my whole heart? Am I really serving people from a place of love and care? And am I really treating this person in this interaction like I would treat my best friend or my loved one or my kid? And when you show up that way, everything is easier. Your life is a lot richer, and you get to truly connect with those that you're around, instead of from that transactional place. It becomes really lonely. You start to think people are out to get you, or like you just don't connect in a way that's helpful. And so that's been hands down the biggest needle mover for me for years now, is just really leaning into that more.
Yeah, and you sure do embody that. And that's something that I get to experience every single day working with everyone at BME. And, I always say that I think one of the best feelings you can impart, anyone can impart on one of their clients, is the feeling of being taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Really imparting that feeling. And I experience that on the daily with you guys. So I think you guys are doing an amazing job. And I so appreciate everything you guys have done to help me grow my business up until this point. This is still just the beginning. We've done so much in the last 2.5 years, but this is just the beginning for me. And we've got big plans over the next several decades, as I know do you. So I wanted to give you a few minutes to talk about what your big plans are over the next couple decades.
Yeah. So our big focus right now is that we've realized that when it comes to marketing, people unfortunately hear a lot of myths and a lot of misinformation, or even if they hear good information, they don't know how to put that in play and how to act on that. And so over the past few years, we've created a process that we call the BME Blueprint. And what we do is we do a deep dive with our clients and figure out where they want to go, what components are they going to need to get there, what's the strategy, what's the outcomes that they want. And out of that, we build them a BME blueprint, which often, depending on the project, it varies a little bit, but often it's a 12-month holistic marketing plan that says, here's all the components you'll need. Here's how you'll scale these things. Here's the websites you need, the copy, the traffic that you're going to need. Even radio, television, direct mail, we're a full service marketing firm of about 65 people right now. So we're a growing team. And so that's been our focus, because I realized that a lot of people will test things ineffectively without a strategy or plan, and they don't know what worked or didn't work or why. Or they get told, as an example, oh, you need to be doing SMS marketing, or, bots on Facebook, or, Facebook ads are the only thing. And all of those are good things, but on their own, they're not as effective as having multi-channel, like running ads and doing email marketing, or, speaking and doing a podcast and having these other components. And so we've just realized that when we are able to show our clients, like, here's a holistic strategy and plan, that they're able to move forward in a consistent manner, and really see what's working effectively, instead of just relying on one channel that could change or fluctuate. And so those holistic BME blueprints have been really effective. And we always like talking to prospects and clients about those, because they definitely move the needle.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that and for being on my show today. And again, helping us debunk these myths with entrepreneurship and business. So thank
Absolutely.
you again. If people would like to get in contact with you directly, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can just go to businessmarketingengine.com and you can contact us there for anything you need on that front. And I'm pretty easy to find on social medias. Facebook, Gabe Arnold, just look me up there, or on LinkedIn. Those are the main two places that I hang out.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you to our viewers and listeners. I super appreciate you being here. And I hope you all have a great day. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.